You ever walk into a big box pet store, grab a basket and think, I'm about to save a ton of money today? Yeah, I've been there too. You see the massive aisles, the flashy yellow discount tags, the endless rows of tanks, and you think you've finally beaten the system. But here's the truth. Big box stores like PetSmart and Petco have massive markups, but they also have massive loopholes. Today, we are settling the debate, PetSmart versus Petco, where Aquarists save the most money, but we are not just comparing price tags. We are playing a strategic game, because in this hobby, you don't usually lose your money at the cash register. You lose it 3 weeks later, quietly, inside your tank. That is the invisible invoice, and today you are going to learn exactly how to hack their system, take the discounts, and avoid the biological traps that crash beginner tanks. And hey, if you love saving money without sacrificing the quality of your ecosystem, hit that subscribe button. Because here at Fish Tank Mastery, we don't just buy gear, we build systems. Never buy aquarium starter kits. Let's start with the foundation, the glass. When it comes to buying the actual aquarium, Petco wins this category, but only if you know how to play the patience game. Retail chains rely on impulse buyers, but the smart aquarist waits for the cycle. Twice a year, Petco runs their famous 50% off open glass tank sale. This is the only time you should ever buy a standard rimmed aquarium from a retail chain. If you're planning a new build, you build your entire plan around this specific calendar event. But this is exactly where the first trap is set. Right next to those beautifully discounted empty tanks, you will see the glossy starter kits. Everything packaged in one convenient box. The glass, the light, the filter, the heater. It looks like the ultimate budget hack. It made sense. Everyone does this when they start out. But those integrated kits come with a massive delayed cost. The hardware included in those boxes is biologically insufficient. The LED lights are barely strong enough to grow low-light algae, let alone a lush carpet of aquatic plants. The internal filters are aggressively undersized, offering almost zero room for proper biological media. You buy the kit thinking you saved $50 up front. But 6 months later, you are replacing the light, upgrading the filter, and paying twice for a system you should have just built from scratch. Do this instead. Wait for the 50% off sale. Buy the bare glass. Build the system yourself. The price match secret. Which brings us to the hard goods, the filtration, the heaters, and the water conditioners. Here, PetSmart takes the edge, but it is strictly conditional. If you grab a bottle of water conditioner off the shelf and walk straight to the cashier, you are paying the full retail markup. The hack here is simple, and honestly, they hate when you do it. Always pull up the store's own website on your phone while you are standing in the aisle. Walk to the register, show them the screen, and demand the online price match. They will almost always honor it. You instantly save 20 to 40% on your hardware without having to wait 3 days for shipping. The aquarium filter scam. But the real financial drain in the hard goods section isn't the heater. It is the filtration aisle. The shiny boxes tell you to replace the carbon cartridge every 30 days. They sell them in expensive, convenient multi-packs. This is a biological scam. It is an endless subscription model for your aquarium. When you pull out that dirty cartridge and throw it in the trash, you are throwing away the microscopic city your beneficial bacteria just spent a month building. And here is the biological truth. Activated carbon is designed to absorb chemicals, meaning its microscopic pores clog and degrade way too fast to ever support a permanent bacterial colony anyway. You are manually crashing your own nitrogen cycle, and you are paying a corporate premium to do it. Do this instead. Buy a coarse mechanical sponge, buy a box of ceramic biomedia, put them in your filter, and never throw them away. You just saved yourself over $100 a year, and your water will be infinitely more stable. How to buy safe aquarium plants. Now, let's talk about the inside of the tank, plants and hardscape. This category is a tie, and it depends entirely on what you are most afraid of. If you go to Petco and buy submerged plants directly out of their display tanks, you are rolling the biological dice. You are risking pest snails, duckweed, and whatever algae strains they are currently fighting. It looks fine in the store, under their lights, but a week later, you have a bladder snail population explosion that you can never fully eradicate. If you want zero risk, PetSmart's tissue culture plants are actually a brilliant investment. These are the plants grown in a nutrient gel inside small sealed cups. Because they are cultivated entirely in vitro using sterilized agar, they are biologically isolated from day one. This means they come with a 100% pest-free guarantee. If you are running a sensitive shrimp colony, this is the only safe retail option. The extreme hardscape hack. But what about hardscape? The wood and the rock? Neither store wins this. Buying a piece of dragonstone or driftwood with a retail barcode slapped on it is the fastest way to drain your wallet. The extreme hack here? Leave the pet store completely. Drive to a local landscaping supply yard. You can buy slate, river rock, and lava rock by the pound for absolute pennies. Wash it, test it with a few drops of white vinegar to make sure it doesn't fizz, and drop it in the tank. The Biosecurity Protocol, live fish. But everything we have talked about so far, the glass, the filters, the plants, the rocks, that is just hardware. Hardware does not crash your ecosystem. Wetware does. This is where the entire game quietly turns against you. This is the Biosecurity Protocol. If you look closely at the massive fish wall in PetSmart or Petco, you will notice something critical about the architecture. The water flows out of the individual tanks and disappears into a pipe in the wall. That is a centralized filtration system. All the tanks in that row, sometimes hundreds of them, share the exact same water volume. This is where the invisible invoice finally arrives. You see a tetra for $3. It looks perfectly healthy. It is swimming normally. But 3 tanks down, in the exact same connected water block, there is a guppy covered in each, or a molly struggling with severe saprolegnia. Because they share a massive water column, that pathogen is already circulating everywhere. If nothing looked wrong with your specific tank at home, would you ever siphon water from a diseased quarantine tank and pour it into your pristine display? Probably not. But that is exactly what you are risking when you buy from a compromised, centralized system. That $3 fish isn't a bargain. It is a biological debt. It is actively incubating a pathogen that you are about to introduce to your established ecosystem. By the time you notice it, the damage is already done. The Smart Aquarist strategy. The Smart Aquarist uses the retail system against itself. We buy the glass when it is 50% off. We price match the hardware at the register. We grab the sterile tissue culture plants to protect our tanks. We take all the corporate discounts on the dry goods, and we save our real budget for what actually matters: strong genetics, healthy biology, and dedicated local fish stores that quarantine their stock in independent, isolated tanks. Saving money on the hardware means you can afford much better wetware. So, what about you? Which store do you actually use the most for your dry goods, or do you strictly buy everything from local fish stores? Drop it in the comments. I want to know your strategy. And if you want to avoid another massive beginner trap, check out our video on the hidden mistakes that ruin crystal clear water. It's linked right below. Until next time, keep your tanks balanced, your glass spotless, and your curiosity flowing.